Hi, I'm Danzen, and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic. In today's video, I will be showing you how to make suspension glitch mini stabilizers, like the one on the back of my bike here. Now, if you've not seen the creation showcase video, please go check it out. And before we start, a bit of disclaimer. I first learned of how to make mini stabilizers from Magma's video. If you've not seen that, please go check it out. And also, before I start, I would like to point out that the mini stabilizer can only be made out of regular blocks in this category. I don't think it can be made out of parts in here. I have tried quite a few and none of them seem to work, but I can't conclusively say that none of the parts in here work because I've not actually tried every single one of them. And with that, let's start. I do have two methods of doing this. So the first method is Magma's method. So we start by placing down a block. This will be the base block. And then put a suspension piece on top. Now I'm going to start showing you the short version first. The one in my creation here uses the off-road suspension piece. Now after placing down the suspension piece, place a bearing on the side, followed by another block, followed by a bearing on top, and a last block. The objective here is to create three separate bodies. So the main base body here, the first one, the first block, an intermediate block, and the final third block. What we want to do now is to place a block here where the suspension is. So connected to the third block here. So obviously we can't build a block here right now. So what we want to do is we want to rotate this block away from the suspension piece such that it's clear of it, and then we can build a block there. At this point, I like to place down a bent pipe piece just to indicate the direction. So I'm pointing away from the suspension piece, or rather I'm pointing away from the surface I want to build on. Now let's drop it off the lift, and we can't build on the back side here, so we're gonna use the hammer to knock this around. And there you go. We have access to this face now. So we're just gonna build a block here and put this back on the lift. Now, as you can see, the new block intersects with the suspension piece. All you have to do now is to weld this one to the first block. It would be easier just to pull it from the third block here. And there you go. The next step is to remove all the unnecessary bits, which is this one, this one, this one, and this one. There you go. We have almost, we can consider as one half of the stabilizer. Now we need to make another one. If you're in creative mode, you can save this and spawn another copy. But if you're in creative mode, you will have to build another one manually. Now I will show you this method of mine, which works really well in survival mode, and it only works. And it actually only works after the survival update. So let's start with one block, and then we have two bearings on these two sides here. We build two blocks here and another two blocks here. Right, so this will serve as our construction platform or construction base, right? And then we place a block here. This block will be the base block, similar to the first method that we use. So place a block here and place a suspension piece on top of that block. Now at this point, we just have to drag blocks out from this area here, and we can intersect the spring, no issues. Now this seems to be a new thing after the survival update. Previously you can't overlap over springs like this. It will turn red like so, but since the survival update, this is possible now. I'm not sure if this will be patched later on, but it works now. So anyways, drag out one block into the suspension piece, and then we weld it as usual. Now we just have to remove this block here and this block here, and then we have the piece that we need, and we can just knock this out of the way, and we can start building another one, which is why this is great for survival mode, because if you wanted to build a lot of stabilizers, this is a very fast way of doing it. See, that's another piece. Now, continuing on, we are going to repeat the first method again, but instead of starting with a regular block, we are going to start by using this piece here. So, put a bearing on the side, a block, another bearing, and another block. And for myself, a bent pipe piece. We're gonna drop this. We have to knock it around because we want to free up that area. Perfect. Now, instead of building a block here like we did earlier, we are going to weld this piece, this other half, to here, to this place, which means that the area under this, which is here, needs to be free, which in this case it is. So pick this up, put it down. So the spring has to face away from the pipe piece. Put this back on the lift, and there you go. Both springs are intersecting one another, and we just have to do the final weld and remove the unnecessary pieces and the bearing here. That's it. All we have to do now is to cap it. Now, to put the cap on, you'll see that both of the suspension pieces are highlighted green, which indicates that the stabilization glitch will work. Just try to hit it around. It works fine. You can use a different block as well. Oops. Works fine. You can even use the unique parts, so like screws. I like to use screws for compact designs, like for gyros and whatnot, and it will still work. Now, that's it for making a stabilizer. Now I'm going to show you how to make the off-road suspension version. It's pretty much the same thing. We're going to reuse this construction base again. Now, when making the halves, you do need to use the blocks of the same kind. So, for example, I can't start all of a sudden start using a concrete block here, for example. So, if I try to do this, it will weld fine, but once you remove these blocks here, the spring disappears, right? So, if you're using glass blocks, use glass blocks all the way for the entire half of the creation. All right. So for the suspension, for the off-road suspension version, do it as usual. But for this step, instead of dragging just one block to the side, we want to drag one block higher as well. So 2 blocks high, like so, and do the normal welding. Remove these 2 blocks. And remove this block here. Right? And then obviously we need another copy, but this copy will just be a regular one. So long suspension piece. And instead of dragging 1 block higher, we just do the normal 1 block high. And weld, remove. And then we will start the last step using this piece here. And instead of putting the bearing on the bottom, we put it on the second block here. So bearing, block, bearing, block, and pipe piece. Just drop it. Nope. Nope. Yep. All right, so let's grab the other half and put it down here. Put it back on the lift. Do the final weld. Remove the unwanted pieces. Bearing. And cap it. There you go. Off-road suspension version. Now, it's important to know that you can only cap it at one end. If you try to cap it at both ends, weird things will happen. So let me show you what I mean. Right, let's say you have a creation here, right? And let's say your suspension stabilization is welded to the creation. And for some reason, you decided to cap the top here. Hang on. Hang on, let's just try to cap it. It's sometimes hard to... Yep, there we go. All right, there we go. So you see both of the springs are highlighted. And when we do this, the suspension, the mini stabilizer disconnects from the first cap, as we can see here. And what's weirder is if you try to put the creation back on the lift, it does this. And then if we remove this block here gets disconnected. So don't cap both ends, weird things happen. Also, you should not try welding the cap on because that does not work. So let's say you have a block here and you pick up the block and you try to weld it on. As you can see, only one of the springs are highlighted and your stabilizer will not work. See that? Because only one of the springs is connected. Now, let's put the cap on. Now, the orientation of your mini stabilizer does matter. So let me show you what I mean. Let's build arms on this side. Oops, too low. Arms on this side. Arms on this side. Yeah, that's fine. Arms on this side. And let's paint it. Oops, wrong tool. Let's paint it. Let's paint this one red. Oops, paint this one green. And let's paint this one blue. Now, the stabilization effect only works on the green and the red axis, which means you can't tilt, well, it's harder to tilt the creation along the green axis and the red axis, but you can still rotate the creation along the blue axis, which is parallel to the suspensions itself. So see how it still rotates. But if we try to do, this bearing here, let's see if I can grab this end. Let's weld it here. Wait, pick the wrong end. Let's pick the green end, right? All right, let's knock this out of the way. So we can't rotate. Now the green axis is on a bearing. We can't rotate along here. See, it does not rotate. Or it's hard to rotate rather. So it's going to be the same thing if you try to rotate along the red axis. but the blue axis is completely fine. If I can show you here, if you try to see how it's kind of falling over. Yep. So we can hit this and it will still rotate. So this is important to know, because imagine if you had a vehicle, for example, and then you put a mini stabilizer sideways on your creation. This will mean that it will be very hard for your creation to turn left, right. Yeah. But it also means that your creation will have no issues tilting up and down, as you can see. And what else is there? That's pretty much it. So I hope that was informative. Please do check out the next video that's to come. In that video, I'll be showing you and explaining to you everything I know about suspension glitches, which includes the stabilization glitch as well. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.